What is up, guys? It is Zach Plochet, and in today's video, I'm going to show you. This is going to be kind of an update video, just to show you what I've been up to and why I haven't really been. I mean, I have been recording training videos, but I haven't been making like really in-depth ones. And the reason is because I'm actually learning how to do something that has been a nothing but a challenge, and I want to. I'll just show you. So I want to teach this in a way where I finally understand everything and can make things clear. But currently I cannot. And what that is currently has to do with my website. So if we go to my new website, zachplochet.com, and I say new, what I mean by new is redesigned and built with new technology. Um, there are certain parts of this website that are generated from an outside source. So that would be these projects here that are all dynamically managed and come from a different URL, a different domain from this website. And the reason that this was so hard is because I had to figure out how to fetch this data via Axios, and I wanted to do it in a clean way. So this is purely a front end that is hosted on Netlify. Like if we look at Wappalyzer, we can see that it's, yeah, the CDN. I don't know what PAAS is, but both of these are both on Netlify. I'm using Vue.js. It doesn't mention Tailwind, but I am using Tailwind and Google Font API. Yeah, this front end is on Netlify. Now, there is a back end to this website. So, but just to show you, like all of these are my projects that are all dynamically created in my database, and they all exist there. So if I click on one of these, there's a detail page that is the list page, and some of them have a working URL to go to a website for this. It's kind of like a portfolio. So if I click on this link here, this will go to the proper website on a separate page, and now you can see my other apps. So yeah, that's pretty fun. Now, let's see where this website gets its data from. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to type in api.zachplochet.com, and we will find a Django REST framework project. Whoops, that's not what I meant to click on. Let's see. So yeah, this is my website where my API is. So this is where my website is reaching out to typically work with this data. And this in itself was interesting to set up. Like Django REST framework, I mean, it is relatively easy to set up, but building the connections between the REST framework and my website itself, that was the actual challenge. And I'll show you what I actually finally got it to, just to have like a normal working version. So I'm typically building Vue projects, so Vue.js, with Vite and Netlify at the moment. And what I ended up building is this. So this will mostly be for you if if you understand what Vue is, but it can also work in React and just or Angular, whatever, just to see how to structure your APIs. So typically, this and I paid like $120 to a dude for 2 hours of a call just to show me how to set something like this up and build it in kind of like a clean way. So what he ended up teaching me was something called a facade pattern, where essentially you want to make whatever like API or um, like whatever you're using to fetch data from another website, you want this to be as clean as possible, and you want it to be replaceable in case, like, I don't know, Axios stops getting maintained and you need to switch it out with something else, like, I don't know, Fetch API or something like that. So he was showing me this where, like, essentially you build you build a client, and you custom define how to do GET and POST requests inside of that specific client, like here. So like here, for example, I set a base URL, I set some headers, and eventually, like you show how to get like the data. So like you're essentially doing axios.get and then taking that response and pulling the data from it. And after that, you end up building these nice little like accessors to get the data for your projects. So all of these are different ways of getting data from my backend, which is api.zacploche.com at the moment. And like, because you're able to set this base URL here, what you can end up with is a pretty easy way to access this, but also some nice functions to work with your data in general. So like if I want to get all of my projects, I can just say get projects, and then it takes care of this part for me. And I'm exporting each of these to where when I finally use them, it ends up looking like this. Once I go to my proper view. So projects, yeah, so like right here is where it finally pays off, where I define my reactive projects and reviews, and I load them in this async on mounted function, essentially, and it finally gets loaded to my view. And the reason it has to be async is because it is loaded from another source, and Axios and Fetch, from my understanding, are just by nature, they have to be asynchronous or they end up returning promises, from my understanding. So at some point it has to say async and await. Now this took me an extremely such a long time to figure out. Because once you get into promises and async and await and actually loading data on your page, it becomes very complicated. Like, should you just call Axios requests, like unique Axios requests, in every single view page, or should you put them in like nice functions like this, and then like should you put async and await on every single time you define that, like even in here, or should you just define them, get the proper, like call them the proper way, and only worry about the async await when you finally call it in your view or on your component or whatever. And the answer I found was you end up using async inside of the view that you actually need the data on. And another piece to this is whether or not to use global state management, like in Vue, there's Vuex, essentially where you create data stores and you're able to, I forget if there's a name for this pattern, but like if we go to like the Vuex website, Vuex.com, or no, we'll just type in Vuex. I don't know if there's a pattern, like a proper pattern name for this. What is Vuex? One-way data flow, and then there's whatever this one is, which I don't see a name for this. Is this a simplicity breaks down when we have multiple components that share a common state? Okay, I don't see really a name for this. But yeah, like essentially I thought I needed this one, and it turns out I don't necessarily need to do it this way. But this is a valid way of doing it. However, I ended up not using that and just went with fetching my data every single time, like a page renders. And yeah, getting my data that way. However, what I also learned is that on the server side rendering, you can essentially cache your requests to where even when you make a request out to like my API, for example, if we go back here, whenever we make a request to this data, I ended up turning on a setting, and this is what this guy I hired today recommended. And it ended up like once you make your first request, that the same data will stay there for 60 seconds. And then after 60 seconds is up, your data will finally like update and reload with the accurate data from your database or from your backend. So what that does, for example, is, and hopefully Zoom shares this pretty quality. But like once we go to this page, or if we click off of this page, I should say, and like let's go back. So you see how this is like a pretty smooth experience once we go like to this page. Like there's no like everything is already loaded once we get here. There's no like load effect or anything. That's pretty immediate. Well, after 60 seconds, it actually is there. It's just not really noticeable because it's quite fast. So let's see if we go back to projects. Okay, not there. It's kind of hard to notice sometimes, but there's a tiny little detail. All right, I don't know when 60 seconds was, but like essentially it's my API isn't working quite as hard to get all of this data. And the issue is I'm not sure if that's really a best practice just to add caching on the server side, because in my brain it makes a lot of sense to handle all of the caching and whatever on the client side. Um, because why wouldn't you? uh, and apparently this is a pretty big like design decision based on or depending on like whichever app you're building. And this current way does work, but like I'm a bit concerned like if I go into filtering or whatever my project, like if I wanted to add like filters, like if I wanted to like there are more parameters here, like some of these are actually completed, some of these are only some of these are like projects that I've only worked on, some and a lot of them are ones that I own. But I'd like to be able to like sort out which is which, and that way people can filter on their own and decide what they want to look at. Um, and I don't know how that would really work if you're just making a single like request. Like why would I want to build a whole bunch of these different like I guess they're called like getters or something? I don't know. um why would I want to make all of these like different functions if maybe I could just have my data and sort them out programmatically while using a store or something. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about and trying to piece together in a way that is pretty much like generic to use across like most projects. Currently, this does work. I don't love it, and I do believe there is probably a way to do it better. Just I don't know that way yet. So unfortunately, I can't really help there a lot. So yeah. Anyway, that's just a quick rundown. If you want to check out my website, uh, it is this www.zachpoche.com. You can come here, check it out. This email form doesn't quite work yet. That's actually going to be my next step since I finally have this part working. The contact page is there, but there is a page for my wife, and there are kitties here. So, yep, pictures of cats. When you hover over them, they spin. And yep, that's our grief fluff. So, anyway, that's just basic update video for today. Yeah. So thank you for watching. Oh, also, if you want me to help teach you how to build any of the stuff I talk about, you can check out my Code Mentor profile, which is, I normally leave a link in my descriptions, but you can also just go to this URL here. If I just click on my profile, which is right here. There we go. Yeah. You can find me here, and there should be a send message button. This is just the edit profile button. Have a lot of good reviews and would love to help you and take a look at your code. So, and also because you're from my YouTube channel, yeah, I might give you a free session or something. Just message me and we can talk about it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, bye for now. Also subscribe.